that shocked my fall into landing lights. I was just sitting down here to try to. Okay, I've got to have the headphones on and the speakers off in the room to record this the right way, and it usually takes a few recordings to get one right. This is number one. I can edit that off. Okay, so hi there, it's Larry Podzabinski. I wanted to get back to what this channel was started about, was about help with schizophrenia and other controversial subjects, I guess, depending who you are or where you're at in life, where your head's at. So I was going to say, what can you expect with a diagnosis of schizophrenia when you're I was 17 years old in high school, and I spent from December of that year, senior year, to March, early March, before I turned 18, and got to sign myself out, so they let me go. But they started me on medication that it enabled me to function at first because the illness was disabling me. I was just doing I wrote a book about it in the Grip of Paranoid Schizophrenia. Third edition is the best edition of that book, and what it was like to go through in the system of delusions and hallucinations. Schizophrenia is really not that complicated to understand. It's like voices. People say, well, that's vague. What does that mean? And voices, what is that? What is that? Well, you can hallucinate. That's part of it's positive and negative symptoms. They're backwards, how they sound. Positive is positive that you're psychotic. Hallucinations and delusions. And negative symptoms are things that you're deficit in or negative in areas like sleep regularity or social functioning, psychosocial functioning, and intervening and with people. I mean, talking about the illness too much can be a negative symptom. I've looked them up and I've forgotten all this stuff because I just live in the present moment and I'm escaping the past, where that's all that schizophrenia lies behind me. But the point I want to make is on the new drug for the tardive dyskinesia, which is the involuntary movements that are late showing up after you take a certain antipsychotic medication. And don't stop taking your medication because you hear this. Talk to your doctor about this first. But this is all true, and this can be verified if you Google it. And they can't deny me the right to tell people about this because I knew in 1979. I was diagnosed in 1975. And ironically, the drug that did the most damage to my nervous system, the early typical first generation, in other words, antipsychotics, like Thorazine, Stelazine, Norvane, Mellaril, Prolixin, Haldol, and I'm not sure about other ones. But the original battery of medication they had starting in 1952 with Thorazine to combat psychosis or schizophrenia, which before that you were just locked in cages in asylums and left to freak out, and that's just the way it was. So in 1952, this drug Thorazine was branded, named Thorazine, and it began to be successfully used in France on mental patients and psychotic people, in other words, living with schizophrenia, and it cured their delusions and calmed them down. So they start using it and looking for other chemicals like it. And it wasn't until 12 years later, in 1964, when they found out that as you take these medications, these early medications, the typical antipsychotics, the atypicals are the second generation antipsychotics. Okay, the typicals are the first generation, what we're talking about, that do the most damage like this. Atypicals can still cause it, but to a far lesser degree, I understand. But a rate or whatever, occurrence, dosage times, length on the medication that does this. But it's a side effect that was thought permanent. and it burns the nerves as you take it, masks the covers. The medical literature always said from the time I first realized I had it in 1979, after a few years of doing very well on Thorazine, especially on Thorazine, I did very well, and I was able to work the longest job I ever had and pay my own rent, never heard of welfare or assistance of any kind, and I was a few years like that in Tampa. In the city, I could get up every morning and drive across town and go to work as a furniture refinisher for a department store furniture department store, furniture store. I mean, I guess warehouse or whatever, but discount place. So anyway, I was they promoted me, and I had my little synthesizer toys like you see here. Not like these gems, but I was building an interest in that, studying it in college, and anyways, but they put you on this Thorazine, and it enabled me to function the better years of my life in terms of being a member of the workforce, but something it did to me that I didn't know. Okay, so it causes this tardive dyskinesia where it burns the nerves away from your extremities, your skin surface, where you can't feel your palms against each other or the warmth of your hands against each other. You just can't feel it. So it took me by surprise to shake somebody's hand for the first time on this medication the other day, and I felt parts of my hand in there that I never felt in there before. The skin surface and the meat between the inner core of, I guess, control was left not burned away. And of the nerves from the Thorazine type drugs. So I was happy to learn that they don't use those anymore. I promoted that in the 1990s, and I was accused of being in the wrong because tardive dyskinesia was still permanent then. And so one famous doctor told me his brother does better on the old medication and not the new stuff, the atypical second generation that came along in 1994. It was what made me well initially after 1975 diagnosis. So there were the last 10 years that I was a constant revolving door patient and stopped twice. My story is in my book, in the Grip of Paranoid Schizophrenia, 3rd edition. How I was stopped in town at gunpoint twice by the police department in 1987 and 1994, and then I got well on this new medication, and everybody was astounded. And I'm 30. It'll be 30 years this year since I've been to the hospital. That's a really mind blower for psychiatrists because they figure, and even as I look around me and know other people with schizophrenia over a period of my lifetime, I mean, some people go back into the hospital at times sooner or later, or with frequency. And I'm committed to proving a point that you don't have to do that. If you got a doctor who will work with you, and you got medication that satisfies what your symptoms are, and quells them, calms them, or qualms them, or whatever. I mean, then you can function again with a clear, focused mind, and that's what the illness prevents you from doing because you hallucinate and see things all around you. All around, on this back here, I mean, I might see a peacock there or something. I mean, it's not really a peacock behind me, but it might look that way in the camera. I don't know, but you see, government replicated UFO technology and secret agents in stealth mode suits going through the walls of your apartment to spy on you and talk to you in voices in your head. And you hallucinate the actual people coming through the walls and the spaceships and all the shit, too. You can get to that profuse point of the intensity of the illness. Okay? This is without any medication or any drugs either. No meth, no pot even, marijuana, nothing. Alcohol, nothing. Psychedelics, LSD, psilocybin, nothing. And you can have problems from these antipsychotic medications that some of those medications you have to take otherwise that keep you straightened out from side effects. But it beats being insane, though, because that's no fun either. When you got the CIA calling the local police chief and you, and starting in September of 1993, and those were some crazy times. It's all in that story. It's in the Ohio library system if you're in Ohio. Any Ohio library card can get In the Grip of Paranoid Schizophrenia by Larry Podzabinski. I've been told it's an interesting, eye-opening read as to what schizophrenia is, because there's 4 chapters where I talk about the system of delusions that I felt I was caught up in, and hallucinations, based on hallucinations I was having, I guess, even when I slept. It's crazy, but your mind processes that in this illness as reality, though those hallucinations, you can't tell the difference. It superimposes itself on top of somebody standing there playing those keyboards, or music I might hear, and see somebody I might see standing there playing them, or actively not on my medication today. I might see that, but I'm not stupid enough not to go on take my medication. I'm married to it. If I'm not, nothing else works in my life, and I don't work anymore. My brain don't work, and I can't function or fit in maintain it at all. So I burn flags, and I don't mean that. That's who I am medicated. But when you're not medicated, you're not responsible, because you don't know what you're going to do next instant anyway. Let alone the next person know what you're going to do either. So you can't predict it when you're crazy, psychotic. So they have chemical interventions, but they cause this tardive dyskinesia. So now there's a treatment for it. There's 2 treatments for it, I understand. I think there was. I'm on the one, and I'm on the maximum dose of it. And it's... Oh, the radio came on in the other room. The alarm clock must be 8:30. It is. I took my medication already, though. Okay. I don't interfere on the tape. Where was I? Where the hell was I? The tardive dyskinesia is like you can't feel the surface of your skin or nothing. Your lips touching each other. I can't imagine anybody else's either at this point. With all the changes I've been through neurologically, my neurology is back to normal from this tardive dyskinesia treatment. I'm on the Austedo XR, 48 milligrams a day. It took several months to get up to that dosage, and it was very interesting as I saw more and more of my nervous system come back on, and my fingers steady out and not move by themselves, and more layers of my... And the thing that got me the most, man, that pisses me off the most, is I was force-fed these drugs when I was like 17 and 3/4 years old. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so I wasn't even an adult yet, legal adult, and they kept me from being able to clench my fists together like that. I noticed as I was more nerves came on from one dosage, and the dosage they came on down further down my extremities, where they were burned away from the extremities. Is what it is, tardive dyskinesia. So next dosage up, the nerves come on down to here, and I said, well, the next dosage will come on to the hand. And I said, well, let me test my grip, man. I went like this, I went like that, and I said, well, but that's a fist. I said, I've never been able to make a fist in my life before, in my adult life. I mean, neurologically prevented by these medications, the action of these medications eroding the nervous system, tardive dyskinesia. Now that it's corrected, I can make a fist. I don't want to use it. I don't know how to use it, but at least I actually just aim it and use it. But I couldn't do that all my adult life, and I'm 66 years old now. Okay, so I'm just getting honest at 65 years old. So people my age bracket will have this condition more because you were put on the older medication years ago now, whereas like they say that the older medication is not being used as much these days because newer second generation atypicals antipsychotics are more effective and have less side effects and less tendency to cause tardive dyskinesia. They can still cause it, but it's a far less pronounced tendency to cause that condition. But so should you stop taking the medication? No, you should just talk to your doctor about tardive dyskinesia The way you know you have it is but this is dangerous because it masks the damage it does. These medications do to you. They cover up the damage of the burning of the way of the extremities of the nerves. And it doesn't show up until you stop taking the medication. Then your fingers move and rotate in circular motions, and your toes and your face just grimaces, and your arms just jerk, and and neurological problems all over your body. Jerking, muscles twitching, and stuff. And not all that's going away now on Austedo. So for people my age, you'd be interested in this if you knew what. Or it depends on how your head's put together, I guess. I could say that and leave it at that. But it looks like we got about 11 minutes here or something like that. More 16 minutes. I can't say from here. Uh, so 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 if you get a diagnosis of schizophrenia and you get on these new antipsychotics, the atypical second generation, you should be able to come to a peace of mind. I'm on two atypicals now. Two. Some psychiatrists will freak out when you tell them you're on two different ones. They want to change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay? So I don't want to hear any blasphemy about my medication have to change. My psych medication. And, and I could say other things too but I'm not going to be radical in this one. I'm just saying, if you're in for a diagnosis of schizophrenia, you'll hear voices unless you take medication, and you'll see people even if it gets really bad, intense case of the illness, and you'll be in trouble. You'll get a misunderstanding. You'll get shot by somebody in a misunderstanding. Where people carry guns these days, so it's better off to stay home and just take your medication. And it's too unsafe a world to be out if you're schizophrenic and don't have your medication with you for a day or whatever, or back safely. Or your symptoms come back, your mind stops working, and then you have a problem because you can't function. So it's a serious illness. It's one of the most feared things. Everybody thinks, "Oh, this can't happen to me," but it happens to one out of every 100 people around the world, wherever you go. So that's pretty relatively rare, not rare odds, like 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 diseases. People get to certain diseases. This is 1 in 100 people get this schizophrenia wherever you go in the world. This gnat's been after me for days. But anyway, but if you the one startling thing I wanted to say about this. So on the Austedo, 48 milligrams maximum dose for a month now. I just got my second month's worth today, half a month worth. But okay, so it's got the skin functioning where I can feel my surface of my skin again, and the warmth of my hands from the other hand. Okay, I couldn't do that before I got on the Austedo. It was dead, nothing there, not numb. Okay, so then okay, so why did I go bald up here? I learned just a few years ago that the baldness, the hair loss is from the Risperdal. And I take for 30 years, and the extreme hair loss is from the Abilify I take for 20 years. Those last 20 of those years. So on top of it, we fine tuned it with a competent MD, and this damn thing. Where was I? The two antipsychotics I take cause hair loss. So I'm thinking now that the Austedo's in the picture, the tardive dyskinesia is counteracted or treated. It's not cured. It's just counteracted and treated as long as I take these drugs. But as long as it's counteracted. So I noticed my hair loss. I figured is going because the nerves are burned away from the hair follicles too, the extremities. Right, that's why the hair loss came in to play. They didn't know about years ago either. So how do you assume for that? Where's the real physical damage if you've been done? Your hair's to go on. You're not appealing to the opposite sex. Is that the only difference? How can you sue for that? I don't think you can. I don't know anyway too, but. So where was this going? So the hair loss. So now the Abilify, not the Abilify, the Estedo for the total dyskinesia has the nerves work back out to the skin again. The hair follicles I feel on my eyebrows, I noticed in my mirror, seem to be coming back fuller, slightly fuller than they were before. So I noticed that I've been defoliated on my legs. I've said in other videos, which was really weird. I'll tell you for no reason until I figured out it was from the antipsychotics. I didn't understand what the hell was going on with me, but but I think I might be raising some stubble on there with this Dostedo on the last month I've been on. I'll know in another month or two. The hair's going to grow. Follicles are going to be stimulated now and grow back. Wouldn't that be miraculous? If like, oh, I could say something, but I better not. But the first guitar player for King Floyd was a schizophrenic. They used the word in later years. They just used the word psychotic in early years. But 1975, 68, he was out of the band, and the famous guitar player that made Pink Floyd famous was in there. And but Sid Barrett was schizophrenic, and they showed a picture of him in 1975 when he stood up in the studio where they were recording, and he was bald, and he was fat belly, and nothing like he looks like in 1968 and 75. He'd been in a mental institution all that time, so they give him. They said he didn't take any medication, but to lose the hair, from the medication, I'm just saying, if the hair is from the tardive dyskinesia burning away the nerves, and you correct it with the Estedo medications for this, then that restores the hair follicle function too. I mean, so the kicker on that is biotin, the vitamin B7, I think it was called, is for hair growth. So I've ordered some of it to add now to see if I can feed these hair follicles and see if I can get this hair growth to go back. Because just to prove a point that in the name of treatment, this damage was done to people at my age bracket, and you can just kiss it if you think you can. I don't have the right to tell people this information. It's horrible to have your fingers move by themselves and shake, and your heart rate's out of control because the nerves are damaged, and when you're confronted by a police officer and you have to explain what you're doing and why there's a disturbance, and if you want all that stuff to stop the myriad of why you end up in mental hospitals, backed into a corner and told this is your legal address, you belong here, you don't belong where you used to live. If you want that to stop, you'll stay on medication and not stop taking it. But at the same time, you want to compensate for these things like tardive dyskinesia and other side effects you can have, like muscle cramps, and the tardive dyskinesia drug takes care of that. So other things. Otherwise, you can expect a life of normalcy once you get fine-tuned to what medications work for you, which won't work for me, what might not work for you, likely won't work for you. Everybody's different with this kind of stuff. It's individual basis. The treatment is found. Successful treatment is found. So that's all I can tell you. Don't try to overextend yourself because you can't only do so much. The older you get, especially the older you get. Have a nice day now. I hope people learn something from that. I strive to help you understand schizophrenia.